This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we elevate construction for individuals, customers, companies, and the industry as a whole by providing training, insights, and solutions. I'm Jason Schroeder, and our focus for today is based on the habits of a successful builder. Here's why you'll want to listen today. These habits can shape any builder. They're universal and they apply to almost any position. If you do these three things that we're going to cover in this podcast today, I promise you, you will have a measure of success in any position that you have in construction. I've learned these from general superintendents, from operations managers, from directors, from vice presidents. These principles are pretty much universal, like I said before. And I've gleaned these over the last 20 years in construction and observing numerous leaders at very, very high levels. And I'm going to impart them to you today, which is super exciting. You can rely on these things. You can take them to the bank. And if you implement these things with discipline, I can promise you that you will be successful. Like I said, in a measure, but I believe that you'll be wildly successful if you can implement these things in a disciplined way. So let me give you a quote. Discipline will always beat mere talent. Discipline will always beat mere talent. You've always heard of the story of the rabbit and the tortoise, or the tortoise and the hare, that the tortoise kept plugging along, super disciplined, super consistent, and the hare, relied on talent, but didn't have the discipline. And you know what happened in the end. So let's start with some focus on discipline before I give you the secrets. And I'm trying to hook you so that you'll stay through the whole podcast here. But if you rely on routines throughout your life, then you won't have to rely on mental discipline all the time. And here's what I mean by that. There's a book called The Power of Habit. And again, I'm going to mention a lot of books in these podcasts. You don't have to read them. I mention them primarily so that you know the source. You can always go to them. You can look them up on Audible. You can look them up on Blinkist, apps like that, where they summarize it down into 10 minutes. But The Power of Habit was an amazing, amazing book. And I am summarizing these for you in the construction industry so you can leverage the wisdom and the experience that are given in these books. Now, in The Power of Habit, they talk about the fact that human beings have habit loops, and those habit loops are signaled by a mental trigger. And then there's usually a loop, a closure loop at the end of these habit cycles, these habit loops that signal the start and the stop of the habit loop that we're referencing. So let's say, for instance, you have a habit of smoking. You get up in the morning, and just by the sheer fact that you get up, that signals your brain to put you into a habit loop of smoking a cigarette. And then at the end, when you feel good, that's the closure that you get that reinforces the habit. And then that really sets. And it takes about 60 days for you to get a good habit, right? There's so much more to the book, but that's one of the main principles. And that if you want to change your habits, you really need to interrupt the habit loop. You need to associate the mental trigger or the trigger to a new habit. You need to do that for a duration of time, like I said, 60 days. And then you need to have a closure at the end, a reward cycle that says, yes, this was the right thing. This was the thing that I needed to do. And so if we can put our routines, which were originally disciplines, meaning the discipline of doing something, but if we can make them a routine, by leveraging this power of habit, we can be pretty remarkable in what we do. So that's the trick. And just to close that thought out, have you ever driven to work and not known how you got there? Well, your mind put that habit loop into the vehicle or the processing of your subconscious and not in your active memory. Not in your active mind. Your mind was processing that and on the back end. Your mind was processing that in your subconscious. I'm not using the exact scientific words here, but the bottom line is, as soon as you hit that trigger, as soon as you hit that habit loop at the beginning, your mind goes into an automatic script and you head through that script until you get to the end where you're like, yep, I arrived at work. This must be the right habit loop. This is the reward cycle. This is the closure that I have on this habit loop, and you're successful. To prove my point, anytime I fly back into Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, I land, and then that's the trigger, and then my mind goes into a habit loop where I go over to the East Economy lot, I go get in my truck, and I get home. Well, one time I found myself in the parking lot, and I'm like, "Where in the world is my truck?" And I realized that I had parked over at Terminal 4, but I hadn't remembered that because my mind started that script, started playing that tape from the trigger of me landing without me ever accessing active memory or being present in the moment. It just put me on an automatic script. This is like autoplay right here. And so that's what our minds do. We need to put some of these habits in that habit loop like I'm talking about. And what's powerful is if we have leaders standard work, which I'll talk about in a different podcast, that is a part of that habit loop. So now here are the habits that I'm going to suggest to you that will make you wildly successful if you implement them. They are: one, study the drawings, study the contract documents, the specs, the information that houses the conceptual vision of what the building is going to be. Study those every day for 30 minutes. It's really going to end up being 10 to 30 minutes, but I don't want to cut us some slack. I don't want to start out low. Study your drawings for 30 minutes every day. Okay. The next one is kind of position specific, but I will use the superintendent routine as the basic example, and that is to be in the schedule every day, 10 to 30 minutes. If you're a field engineer, you're probably going to want to switch that to being in your lift drawings every day. If you're a project engineer, you're probably going to want to switch that to being in your procurement log every day. If you're a project manager, you're probably going to want to switch that to being in your financials every day. If you are a project director or a field operations director or a general superintendent, you'll probably want to switch that to mentor somebody for 30 minutes every day. But it really needs to be the focus of your main tool, meaning a project manager's main tool are the financials. The superintendent's main tool is the schedule. The project engineer's main tool is the procurement log. The field engineer's main tool are the lift drawings, right? So you want to have that second habit every day to be in that tool, which is going to make you successful. And just one more thing with that. As a superintendent, I live, breathe, eat, sleep, think about, dream about schedule. I can go through a schedule and foresee the future, look forward to work, plan work, run the quality process, get crews set up, get information set up, track RFIs, track the procurement. I can look at whether or not manpower and material is ready. I can look at information. I can warn people about things. I can phase plan. I can prepare work. I can do almost anything from a schedule. It's one of those magic tools in my role as a superintendent that just does everything for me. Same thing with lift drawings for a field engineer. If a field engineer has a lift drawing schedule and lift drawings, he or she can know exactly what they're building, update notes, stay current with things out in the field, always know what's going on, update RFIs, stay current, know exactly what they need to lay out. I mean, that lift drawing schedule, that lift drawing log, and the lift drawings themselves are a tool for that field engineer to stay current all the time that will drive success. So the second one is be in the schedule, or if you're a field engineer, be in your lift drawings, project engineer, be in your procurement log. If you're a project manager, be in your financials. If you're a leader, be with your people. The third one is super, super important. And this actually comes from a lean concept, which means go to the gemba or go to the place of work. We have to be taking field walks. Field engineers need to be taking field walks every day, whether that's to take pictures, to take progress photos, to plan for quality, whatever the case may be. A superintendent needs to be doing field walks every day to look for safety, upcoming work, to look at production, look at the condition of the job, see what has been done, confirm that we are on schedule, look at how we are doing things, look at when we are doing things, right? That field walk is absolutely crucial. And then for the foreman, you have to go out and walk your job so that you know what areas were clean or dirty. You know what work was completed. You know what materials you need for tomorrow. You know what messages to give to the craft. You know what pretest plans tomorrow to fill out. You know your biggest safety hazards, and on and on and on and on. And that's it. If you actually, that's not it. In a future podcast, I'm going to talk about personal organization systems. I'm going to talk about setting up your day. I'm going to talk about how you reflect on your day. I'm going to talk about to-do lists, things like that. But from a fundamental, I want to be a builder standpoint, you have to do these things. You have to study the drawings. You have to be in your schedule. You have to take field walks. If you do not, you're not a superintendent. If you do not, you're not a field engineer. If you do not, you're not a builder. Now, if you thought about that and you were like, man, this Jason guy's bold, he just made me mad. I don't like the way he's talking to me. That's accusing, then okay, I'm sorry. I'm here to try and help you to make more money. I'm here to try and help you be promoted. I'm here to help customers to win and to get the product that they paid for. I'm here to help customers be delighted with what they get. I'm here to help companies succeed. I'm here to have individuals be able to have enough money to go out and take vacations and have boats for their kids and pay for college educations and do all these things. That's my motive. And so sugarcoating, it's not going to do any good. If you don't study your drawings, if you're not in the schedule every day, and if you don't take your field walks, you're not a builder. And I'm sorry if that offends you, and if I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's the fact. But here's the good part. Here's where you're like, man, I love this guy, Jason. These podcasts are great. He just told me the secret. If I do these things, then I can be a builder. If I study the drawings, I'm in my schedule every day and I take field walks, I can be a builder. Here's the bottom line. There are broker companies out there. There are CM companies. There are contractors out there that will just go point their finger and tell people and trade partners, or actually subcontractors in this case, to go out and do this or do that or complete that work. Hey, go to work. Hey, it's your start date. And they don't know the drawings. I know of superintendents, not in the places that I work, but I know of superintendents that don't ever read the drawings. I know of superintendents that don't ever read the specs. I know of superintendents that don't know the soils report. They don't know the hazardous material surveys. They don't know the drawings. They don't know what's expected. They don't know what they're building. And they don't go out and walk the field, so they don't know what's actually happening. And they don't know when it's supposed to happen because they're not on their schedule. And those superintendents are a dime a dozen. All they have is one skill: come to the job site, be grumpy, point the finger, and stay in the office. Or heck, maybe they even walk around, but they don't know when things are supposed to happen. And even if they did know what was supposed to happen, they don't know what they're supposed to build. So don't be like that. If you hear what I'm saying and you're a little bit offended, then change. If you're a lead man or woman, or you're a foreman, general foreman, field engineer, superintendent, project manager, project engineer, and you don't know the drawings, then there is a fundamental problem. And you are not going to fail, and I'm here to look out for you, so I'm going to give you hard feedback. What happens when you do these things? If you study the drawings, you will know what you're going to build. You can communicate that to the field and implement quality. You will be able to anticipate for safety, for information, for materials, for manpower. You will be able to take snippets on your computer and send those to other members of the team, to your project engineer, hey, let's RFI this. To your foreman, hey, let's make sure we build this. Field engineer, hey, let's make sure we check this. Trade partner, hey, I need a JHA on this. This will become a trigger for you to go do certain things. It either is going to end up on your to-do list, you're going to delegate it, it's going to become something that you want to bring up in the team meeting, but the bottom line is you're scaling communication. Same thing with the schedule. If you're in the schedule all the time, you'll know where the job is, you'll see the future, but also you'll be able to take snippets and you'll be able to send out to this trade partner, hey, make sure your crews are ready in 3 weeks. Hey, let's do a pre-install meeting or a preparatory meeting or a pre-construction meeting, whatever you call it. We need to do this in 3 weeks. Hey, do we have all the information for this activity? Hey, do we have the procurement Mr. or Mrs. PE for this activity coming up? When you use your schedule, you can send little screenshots or snippets from your computer and communicate via email, or pick up the phone, or send a text, or visit with them right there in front of your computer, or that schedule will become a trigger for you so that you know what needs to be done. Anybody can go out on the field and be told what to do. You know, there's a common saying that's like, oh, he's a to-do list guy, he has to be told. Or there are people that think for themselves. There are people where you're like, yep, they don't need to be told. They're a self-starter. They know what to do. They're always looking out ahead. They see the future. That is a good builder. And being in the drawings and being in the schedule does that. Also, when you take field walks, not only do you know the status of the job, not only are you current with what's happening, not only can you see if the job's in trouble, not only can you see what quality is happening, not only can you see what you need to prepare, not only can you check on the day, not only can you do your daily report, not only, but you can, in the moment, take a picture with these newfangled things called iPhones or Androids, whatever you prefer, and send text messages to people to communicate. You can send emails to people to communicate. You can log in on, Struction Site or some of these other apps that do your daily reports for you. I'm forgetting the name of the other one. Anyway, it's not a big deal. You can do your daily reports right there. You can message people for things that need to be done. And in future podcasts, we'll talk about, I personally advocate text systems for communicating job sites. Now, I know that there are other, safety platforms that need to collect data for us. I know that there are safety inspections and quality inspections that need to be logged in with checklists. I get that. But a lot of really good, quick communication can happen by texts. There's even apps and services that companies can buy that do that and log it down in your construction management applications, in the Procores of the world, the CMICs, the Prologs of the world. And so this field walk can be huge. And then the next morning when you're communicating with the craft in morning worker huddles, which I'll advocate in a future podcast, Hey, level 3, we need some cleanup. Hey, level 2, this is what's happening. Hey, level 1, I noticed this. Hey, tomorrow we have our crane coming. These can become triggers. If a superintendent will study the drawings every day, if the superintendent will be in the schedule, superintendent will take field walks, or the foreman, or the field engineer, or, then I promise you they will always know what needs to be done, and they won't have to be told. And that is so big when it comes to being promoted, making the right money that you want to make, and just being fulfilled at work. These things work. It's a game changer. Don't be that superintendent that just has one skill. Don't be that superintendent that is always behind the 8 ball. Don't be that superintendent that it's a broker and not a builder. Because if you choose to do these things, if you choose these habits, I promise you will see exponential growth in your career, and you will always know what to do. So here are the takeaways. Study your drawings every day. Be in the schedule. Always do field walks consistently. And that's the secret. There you go. I'm not even going to charge you for it. There you go. It's free information. If you implement that, I almost wish it wasn't free. I almost wish I was charging you for this, because if you don't take some ownership in this, and if you don't implement it, you're going to regret it, because this is one of these huge secrets that not everybody knows that will improve your life forever. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please message me on LinkedIn if you want to provide feedback on any of these podcasts, or if you want to do an interview, or reach out to me for any other reason. But like I always say, this has been fun. I hope that this will help elevate the construction industry one by one person at a time, and that we can have better builders, better prepared folks, and people ready to take their next step. So on we go. And until we meet again, I hope that you are successful and fulfilled in everything that you do. And I hope you're taking care of the workers on site and all of the wonderful people in construction that deserve the respect and admiration of all of us. So I'll see you on the next one.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.